Hey there, it's Götz checking in again, and this time we are diving into the world of my now 6 kilowatt solar plant, now a good 18-month old. I guess it's really time I share my experiences and updates with you all. To set the scene, end of 2021, Cebu got hit by typhoon Odette, causing a whole month of power outage here in Cebu City, and especially out in the provinces, power restoration took up to a grueling 3 months in some spots. And around that period, the Ukraine conflict flared up. And knowing we mostly generate electricity here in the Philippines from coal and oil plants, I could smell rising energy costs a mile away. Just to throw some numbers your way, early 2021 pegged the cost at 12.5 Philippine peso per kilowatt hour, and now by mid-2023 it's hit 13.5 pesos per kilowatt, marking an 8% hike. So I decided to become more independent and install solar. I hopped onto Facebook for some weeks scouting for solar system suppliers. Naturally, I was on the hunt for folks who knew their stuff and could set it all up. I asked for support and 5 parties perked up, and I sent them all a query about their experience and pricing. 2 never even bothered to answer. 1 just wrote back how much, and another one fired off his price in a 3-liner. Cut to Ariel, who not only responded with professionalism, but also went the extra mile by sharing snaps of his previous setups. While his price might be heftier compared to the local norm, he charges 8 peso per installed watt. I wasn't looking to take on my do-it-yourself route. Also, someone with tools and knowledge in cable wizardry could probably do a self-install easily. Quality's got its price, and I'm more than happy to put down some cash when it comes to something that's gonna go strong for decades. Truth be told, Ariel's installation has been a smooth sail for a year and a half, no hiccups in sight. Now, planning a solar install, it all kicks off with your monthly electricity bill. Back in early 2022, we used about 350 kilowatt monthly. Crunching the numbers, I figured 4 kilowatt on the roof would be enough to cover our electric cravings. But then the tricky bit is factoring in those nighttime hours. The sun does its thing during the day, but nights are a whole different tale. Mornings crisp, afternoons a sizzler, and coming evening that sun saying it's goodbye. So if you're looking to cut costs, storage is the name of the game. Talk about luck, my setup only allowed for a sunrise facing rig, and turns out that was a smart play, because mornings turned out to be drier here compared to the afternoons. More on that in a bit. When it comes to storage, the lithium iron phosphate batteries are the sensible pick on the wallet. Lead acid ones are alright, but they're finicky with the charging and unloading. Lithium ion ones, fire hazards on a big scale. You shouldn't put 20 kilowatt of those into your house. On the flip side, lithium iron phosphate batteries, solid as a rock as they don't self-ignite at all. Ideal for in-house installation. Plus, they last 5 to 10 times longer than lithium ion batteries. So my game plan was to install 8 Trina solar panels, each 500 watt, a branded and trustworthy 5 kilowatt Day hybrid inverter, and a 10 kilowatt lithium iron phosphate battery. Went with the hybrid inverter cause it lets me switch to grid power when the battery is tapped or it's cloudy or rainy for too long. I've been residing in the Philippines for a solid decade now, and during the past 6 to 7 years I've observed a noticeable increase in cloudiness and rainfall. It's quite likely that this change is a result of climate change, as rising average temperatures trigger greater water evaporation from the oceans, leading to heightened cloud formation and increased precipitation. After installation, I also soon noticed that my 4 kilowatt solar panels were generating far more electricity during the morning hours than I could effectively store in just 8 kilowatt used battery capacity. Hence, about a year later, I made the decision to invest in a second battery to store the surplus solar power. you can actually catch a video on this topic from about a year ago on my channel. The other challenge I encountered was the system's reduced electricity generation on cloudy or rainy days as compared to sunny days. This prompted me to consider an upgrade from 4 kW to 6 kW that happens in this video. This decision was especially relevant given my current work from home situation, which even includes night shift. Speaking of sun-soaked days, when there's not a cloud in the sky, a 3 kW setup would suffice to power the house, charging up a 20 kW battery to comfortably last through a regular night with just one air conditioner running in the bedroom. However, my current work from home night shift routine translates to a monthly consumption of around 650 kW. With 2 air conditioners and office computers running, coupled with the base energy load of the house, our total usage clocks in approximately 1 kW per hour during the night. Factoring in the local sunset around 5:30 and the sun's revival at about 6 AM, we are looking at bridging 12 to 13 hours. That's why my 20 kW battery with 75% utilization is right-sized. Let me illustrate this with some snapshots. Take a look at the electricity production data from last year. Those 4 kW panels up on the roof topped out at 22.3 kW, which sums up to about 500 kW per month, if we do a rough calculation of 16 kW over 30 days. As things stand, my current 6 kW system is clocking in at approximately 700 kW per month. Now onto the historical electric bills from 2021-2022 of WECO. It's pretty revealing to see the pre-solar consumption at around 350 kW, which used to cost me nearly 4,400 pesos each month. For comparison, let's look at the bills and consumptions for this year, but keep in mind these figures only reflect the electricity I sourced from WECO. As you can discern, with my 6 kW setup in place, the bills for July and August fluctuate between 500 to 1000 peso per month, and the August bill has a payback from WECO, which makes it even 150 peso less than usual. Though there were a couple of hiccups along the way. An outage with Converge Internet in July and subsequent missing data for nearly half the month, followed by another outage with Globe Internet at the end of July and into August. But you can still track the upward trajectory in production from May to June, coupled with the rise in power consumption due to the combined effects of work from home and my nocturnal shifts, which now hovers close to 700 kW per month. So let's talk cash. Allow me to recap my payments in 2021-22. Back in those days, the electricity cost in the Philippines stood at around 12.5 peso per kilowatt. Fast forward to 2023, we are looking at a hike to approximately 13.5 peso. Now, in the current month of August, the WECO bill comes with a slight silver lining, a refund for all customers, chipping about 150 peso off the usual fare. In simpler terms, during the early months of 2022, I was shelling out 12.5 peso per kilowatt for 350 kilowatt, totaling 4,500 peso per month. Given our current tally of around 650 kilowatt and the 13.5 peso rate, my monthly electric bill would roughly hover around 8,800 pesos, but it's way under 1,000 now. To further streamline the math, since the setup's installation, I've managed to churn out a grand total of 7.6 megawatts of electricity. Assuming an average rate of only 13 peso and considering the 7,600 kilowatt mark, I've managed to pocket about 100,000 pesos in savings over the past 16 months. In terms of expenditures, let's do a quick sum. The entire system set me back roughly 440,000 pesos, inclusive of a dozen 500 watt panels at 10k each, the 5 kilowatt day hybrid inverter at 56k, a pair of 10 kilowatt lithium iron phosphate batteries that set me back 160,000 pesos in total, and the installation fees, a sum of 66k, which included the upgrade. Additional expenses to the tune of about 35,000 pesos went into materials, mainly covering electrical cables and mounting necessities. When you juxtapose these numbers, the calculation suggests that the system will pay for itself in over just 6 years. You might wonder what's got me so confident in this venture. The answer lies in the panels. They are the workhorses of this setup, and they don't simply give in. These panels keep generating power even as the years roll on. Assuming a minimal degradation rate of under 1% for these branded panels, I am projecting a conservative estimate of over 550 kilowatt per month a decade from now. Fast forward 20 years and that number should still be around 500 kilowatt monthly. Remember, we are talking about a solid 2 decades, something I can hand down to the next generations. Let's pivot to the Deye inverter, a substantial player from a reputable manufacturer. It carries a 5-year warranty, but given the reputation of top-notch brands, you can bank on it performing well for the next good 10 years. As for the lithium iron phosphate batteries, they are the heart of the energy storing game. They boast a cycle life of no less than 3000 charge-discharge cycles before they even hint at a capacity decline to 80%. In stark contrast, the lithium-ion competition starts to stumble after a mere 500 to 800 cycles and typically sputters out after 2 years. With my conservative estimate of 3000 cycles for lithium iron phosphate, bearing in mind that many manufacturers claim as high as 5000 to 8000 cycles, I'm setting my sights on a solid 80% capacity even after 6 years of use. Since I'm only pushing them to 75% capacity, I'm looking at closer to 5000 cycles, which should translate to another 10 to 15 years of functionality. And considering that battery technology will likely advance further in 10 years, I could still sell my used batteries for a decent sum. When it comes to the long-term perspective and costs, I'm afraid I don't have that crystal ball yet, but I'll certainly continue sharing updates through my videos. Now you might be wondering, as I live in a rented townhouse, what if I decide to move? Well, I've come to understand that whatever I can install, I can just as easily uninstall and take along when I relocate. Of course, there'll be costs associated with removal and reinstallation, but if I factor in Ariel's charges and transportation, I'll still be less than 100,000 pesos. And given the savings, that cost would be recouped within a year. However, there are no plans for moving in the near future, and if I do eventually move, it'll be to a place I intend to settle in for the rest of my days. So how does this system affect my day-to-day life? The beauty of it is that you hardly notice any difference. The inverter primarily taps into solar energy, so as long as the sun is shining, the house is powered by solar energy, and any surplus power gets stored in the battery. When sunlight wanes, the battery takes over until depleted, at which point the system switches to grid power. All of this is orchestrated autonomously by the inverter, seamlessly blending power sources without us even realizing it. You can see this play out in this graph. On August 19th, you'll notice the electricity production illustrated by the sizable green curve. And to the left, you'll find the electricity I procured from Weco. Throughout the night, the battery maintained a healthy charge, and it wasn't until the early hours that it discharged enough to necessitate a bit of grid power. However, as dawn breaks and electricity production rises around 6 a.m., the grid power consumption swiftly drops to zero, and the household operates on solar and stored energy for the rest of the day. You'll also observe that electricity production was relatively modest in the morning, but picked up significantly around 11 a.m. This rapid surge in production indicates a slight morning battery shortage, which couldn't be fully compensated for in the afternoon, when most appliances are typically in use. This pattern is evident in the night graph for August 20. Since the battery had already been depleted, a higher demand for electricity from Weco was inevitable. The cycling on and off of air conditioners is also discernible. The computers are running, the office air conditioner is operational, and naturally the bedroom air conditioner is switched on. Peak consumption even reached 1.4 kilowatt. With 15 kilowatt of battery storage, I have a comfortable 12-hour buffer. Another example from August 20th demonstrates how cloud cover leads to significant fluctuations in electricity production. These fluctuations are clearly visible in the graph. In essence, my system is designed to produce around 650 kilowatt of electricity per month while still needing a bit of grid power. This slight reliance on grid power is acceptable as it prevents the utility company's meter from being switched off after 3 months of non-use. After all, what if I need power later on and they switched off my meter? Hence, adding an extra consumption of 500 to 1000 pesos per month isn't a major concern. Now you might be wondering about system breakdowns. Generally, I'm not too worried. The panels are fully waterproof, including the electrical connections. Over the last 16 months, we've weathered heavy rains, thunderstorms, lightning strikes in the vicinity, and even storms, though thankfully not typhoons. Unfortunately, I don't have video footage of Ariel hammering the 3-meter copper pipe into the ground, but I'm confident I have the most well-grounded house on the entire island. Safety is a paramount consideration in the system's design. Ariel assured me that in case of a typhoon, my roof might take off before the panels do. He mentioned that his panels and the ones he installed all survived Typhoon Odette. Ordinary weather conditions don't phase the system and its low maintenance. A single cleaning session sufficed. During a stretch of sunny and rainy days and residing in Cebu City where the air is somewhat polluted, a grey film of dirt accumulated over the course of almost 1.5 years. Rain assists in cleaning, but during extended dry periods the dirt hardens. For cleaning I acquired a gadget meant for truck drivers. It's a 2-meter long contraption where you pour dishwashing detergent at the bottom. It's just perfect for cleaning the panels, as you can see. I'm supposed to do this annually as venturing onto the roof isn't everyone's cup of tea. The tree you see in front of Lucy's house has grown about 2 meters since Typhoon Odette, but it still provides not much shading to the panels. If it begins to hinder production in the future, the tree might just need a trim. Can you insure the system? Yes, insurance for solar systems is available. The cost is roughly 1000 pesos per 100,000 pesos of installation value as a ballpark figure. However, I haven't opted for it yet. The insurance solely covers the solar system, excluding any damage to the house or other components. Panels and electrical cables could be replaced, but no roof damage. If the inverter catches fire, the batteries might be replaced, but fire damage to the house wouldn't be covered. When I inquired why not, the Filipino insurance agent simply replied, "Your homeowner's insurance should cover those costs." However, it's a known fact that not many homeowners here have such insurance. So the choice to pay around 4,500 pesos annually for this coverage rests with each individual. Lastly, a question that often arises is, why haven't you gone for net metering? Net metering entails selling excess power back to WECO, the local power company. But this makes sense only if you're a homeowner and plan to stay put for the long haul. Given my current setup, I scarcely buy any electricity from WECO anymore. However, they would purchase my surplus electricity at half the rate, meaning if it costs me 13 pesos per kilowatt hour, I'd probably fetch around 6.5 pesos per kilowatt from them. This means I'd need to produce 2 kilowatt to buy back 1 kilowatt from WECO. Another drawback is that the credit is rolled over. In essence, your bill becomes zero, but even if you generate heaps of excess power, you can't automatically cash out the money every month. You have to apply for it at the end of the year to receive your excess earnings. This process can be rather cumbersome. And if you forget to apply, from what I heard until now, this money expires. Please tell me in the comments if that has changed by now, but would you really believe monopolies would easily part with their money? However, I do recommend net metering if you own your home. Quite simply, on your own roof and carport you can install as much solar as your budget allows, and it's a savvy move. Over the long run you can pocket quite a sum. Of course, there's a fee for the net metering installation. Let's say you can potentially generate 20 kilowatt. To sell that to WECO, they need to ensure that this 20 kilowatt can be safely fed into their grid. And guess who covers that cost? You guessed it, you do. Depending on your location, this could turn out to be pricey, especially if they need to lay cables to the nearest substation to accommodate the increased load. But in the grand scheme, it's worthwhile. If you tally up the earnings over 10 to 20 years, during which you supply a substantial amount of power to the local utility company, it becomes a logical long-term investment. So, as you can deduce, even an initial investment of permanent 100,000 peso can yield returns with a larger setup. Looking back, would I have made different choices? There's a dual answer to that. With the knowledge I've amassed, I would certainly have opted for a second battery earlier on. Back then the cost was 80,000 peso and my funds were a bit tight. It became evident quite quickly that my solar setup was producing more power than my single battery could accommodate, and at night my power demands exceeded what a lone battery could provide. So the lesson here is that investing in additional battery capacity is a smart move, even if it doesn't yield immediate full utilization. Lithium iron phosphate batteries thrive when they are not operating at full capacity, so investing in this component is consistently wise. What I wouldn't change is beginning with 12 panels instead of 8. Interestingly, in the past 18 months, the cost of panels has actually dipped. However, batteries have seen a slight price uptick. If budget allows, panels can be added at any time, requiring only the extra installation expenses. But even with that, I would have paid more if I'd gone for a 6 kilowatt setup straight away. Here in the Philippines, installation costs are calculated per installed watt, and my installer Ariel charges 8 pesos per installed watt, so those extra 2 kilowatts set me back 16,000 pesos. Another aspect I'd mull over more is the inverter's capacity. Alright, the 5 kilowatt inverter has never been overwhelmed, but I've become cautious about not running too many high consumption devices simultaneously. Electric kettles and stovetops are voracious energy gobblers. When the washing machine is running, I'm working and Elsie is preparing rice and lunch, we could easily surpass 5 kilowatt. Thus having a slightly beefier inverter, or as I'm planning, 2 5 kilowatt inverters, would be more accommodating, providing a combined 10 kilowatt capacity. Plus, it introduces a redundancy factor. At present, my inverter is the lone point of vulnerability. Whew, that was a plethora of information. I hope I haven't missed anything. If you've got questions, drop them in the comments or send me an email. If you're looking to get in touch with Ariel, shoot me an email and I'll connect you. Ariel's a solar system guru, setting up installations all across the Philippines. For those interested in insurance details, I can send you the documents via email too. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for today. The next update will likely come in 1 to 2 years, as there won't be significant changes in my system before that time frame. Till then, I hope you subscribe and like my channel. Bye bye for now.